Thank you for having me and my family here today. I'm David Lacks Jr., son of David Sonny Lacks and grandson of Henrietta Lacks. You may know of my grandmother from her immortal HeLa Cells that have led to some of the greatest medical breakthroughs of our time, like the polio vaccine and the HPV vaccination. Unfortunately, my grandmother died at the tender age of 31 from metastatic cervical cancer. Today, me and my family will share how we are coming together during our grandmother's Centennial celebration to support strategies to eliminate cervical cancer.
I am Jerry Lacks Y, the granddaughter of Henrietta Lacks. David Sonny Lacks is my dad, who is Henrietta's middle child. We use her story as a platform to advocate. When my daughters were younger, the doctor, their physician would ask, do you want your children to be vaccinated with the HPV vaccine? And I was like, no. And he would give me information about this vaccine. And he's saying, if you're not, you still can, I'm gonna give you the facts, but you still can look it up for yourself so you can feel comfortable of what this vaccine can help and do for young women and young men, because we wasn't comfortable. Family, my daughters and my mom, to go read more about the HPV vaccine and to make a decision, okay, whether the girls was going to get vaccinated with the HPV, because this is their body and they have to make that conscious decision if they want to take something to prevent them from getting cervical cancer. They did decide to do the HPV vaccine. Wonderful just to know that our grandmother has helped the world in tremendous ways. It just makes me want to advocate more and to make sure that people are aware of the importance of being vaccinated. Everyone's called to action to make sure that everyone has access to quality health care. I am supporting WHO strategy to eliminate cervical cancer because I think it's my duty as a descendant to work towards a common goal.
Thank you, Jerry, for bringing in profound topic on cervical cancer. As Jerry said, my name is Alfred Lacks Carter Jr. I'm the son of Deborah Lacks, the grandson of Henrietta Lacks. My grandmother, Henrietta Lacks, died at a very early age. She left behind a loving husband and 5 children. We must stand together and eradicate cervical cancer. And we stand together in solidarity with all women around the globe to ensure no other mother, sisters, or daughters die from this devastating disease. On behalf of the Lacks family, we would like to thank the WHO, member states, and leaders around the world in medicine.
As the world turned, we quickly learned that something was missing. But Miss Miracle filled a great void, created more life for the living. She's the gift that generationally keeps on giving, reviving, resuscitating, healing, revealing that she's what the world lacked. This sweet spirit that maps back to the source, who saved the broken from being brokenhearted, cured the remorse, the discourse. She's a beautiful force of nature. Of course God made her, and a dream is where she was first seen. Heaven sent, mahogany drip like slices of silk cut from the deepest abyss. Her light is lit like she was dipped in the sun. She's the one. Her dark matter matters. She's God's gift, angelic, Heaven's in her melanin. There's magic in her elements. It's no accident that her purpose was fine-tuned. To this day and beyond, her spirit is still felt when you enter the room. Her energy is eternal, everlasting. She carries the essence of God in every step. She never left. She's a direct connect to the beginning, to the root and the seed. She's the little sister of Eve, a divine need who changed the course of history and health. Her lineage is our timeless wealth. Peace is felt whenever her aura is met. Miss Miracle, her spirit is a spiritual, a gospel that's meant to be sung and praised. How many souls has she saved? Look at the villages that she's raised, in small towns and city blocks where opportunity is often blocked. But because of her, we survive and shine. This divine design. It would be a crime not to love you completely, repeatedly, daily. The queen and her crown. Your worth is so profound. Once lost, we found the perfect picture is forever in motion. Her spirit still walks the earth with joy and devotion. It's impossible to measure your worth. We love you. The world loves you, loves her. This woman who's both beautiful and black. This golden soul is the answer to what the world lacked.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deborah Ketching-Smith, and I am the immediate past international president of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. It is with great honor and pleasure that I welcome each of you to the King's Take Your Place webinar number 4. This is the conclusion of a 4-part webinar series brought to you by the Divine 9-5 fraternities. This dynamic series has been conversations full of knowledge and wisdom about the kings and how they shared becoming princes, on leading the community in a kingly fashion. What is a king without the queen? Tonight, we are here to celebrate the life and legacy of Henrietta Lacks, a queen that was brought so much to the world. We ask everyone to please take the pre-assessment that is found in your chat box. There is a link to the pre-assessment. Your support and participation is greatly needed. We will now hear more about Henrietta Lacks, followed by our live discussion with her grandson, Alfred Lacks, and great-granddaughter, Veronica Robinson.
My name is Lawrence Lacks, Henrietta's eldest son. We're down Turner Station celebrating her 100th birthday and all the good things that she has did for the world.
John Lacks, I'm the grandson of Henrietta Lacks. I'm celebrating her 100th birthday because she was such an amazing woman. And I got to know her through my dad, who helped me with my book, Henrietta Lacks, The Untold Stories, where she gives me in detail the everyday life and living and growing up in the Lacks household. She was such a caring mother, and he just expressed how caring she was to her friends and neighbors. So I want everybody to know Henrietta as a person, not just a cell. So that's why I'm here today celebrating her 100th birthday, and I want people to know that her family is together. We all come together as a family to get this one message out, that Henrietta was a loving grandmother and mother.
Alfred Lacks Carter. I'm the grandson of Henrietta Lacks. I'm honored to celebrate her 100th birthday on today, August 1st. She will be 100 years old. I'm honored because she's truly the mother of modern medicine. She was my grandmother and she contributed to this world greatly. So thank you. Have a blessed day.
Happy 100th birthday, Henrietta Lacks.
Zakaria Rockman, a.k.a. Joseph Lacks. I wish my mother 100th birthday, what an amazing woman that she was. I wish my mother 101 birthday.
Hi, I'm Shirley, Henrietta Lacks' daughter-in-law. Just want to wish her a 100th happy birthday. She's such a wonderful, phenomenal, awesome woman. Yay, Henrietta, you go!
Hi, my name is Jerry Lacks, and I'm Henrietta's granddaughter, and I just want to wish my phenomenal grandmother, Grandma Henny, a 100th happy birthday. Yay, Grandma Henny!
Hi, I'm Kimberly Lacks, the granddaughter of Henrietta Lacks, and I would like to wish this phenomenal, exceptional mother of modern medicine a happy 100th birthday. Yay!
My name is Alan Wilkes, and Henrietta Lacks is my grandmother.
And I'm Pam Wilkes, and this is our family.
Hi, I'm Robin. Hello, I'm Crystal.
How you doing? I'm Corey. How you doing? I'm Lamont.
And this is Kirby. We are honored to celebrate her 100th birthday because she has made and continues to make a huge impact on all of our lives and the lives of others all over the world, whether they realize it or not. We are honored to be a part of her phenomenal heritage. On behalf of the Henrietta Lacks' family, thank you
for celebrating her legacy.
Happy 100th birthday, Henrietta Lacks. Yay!
I'm sorry, my mic was muted. Let me start over. Thank you for sharing that empowering story and sharing the words of the descendants of Henrietta Lacks. And now it is my honor to introduce to you Mr. Alfred Lacks Carter Jr. He is the grandson of Henrietta Lacks and the son of Henrietta's second daughter, Deborah Lacks. Alfred is the founder and president of the Henrietta Lacks House of Healing, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to providing transitional housing for men in order to combat homelessness and recidivism, as well as reentry into the community after release. His efforts have been included in a number of social justice and health equity initiatives. Alfred has spoken with communities, organizations, and schools across the nation to educate the world about the Lacks family story, his mother's journey, and his grandmother's legacy. Alfred acted in and served as an advisor on the 2017 Emmy-nominated The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, the HBO movie adaptation of his mother's journey to educate the public about Henrietta. Henrietta Lacks, if you recall, was portrayed in the movie by Oprah Winfrey, who served as executive producer. Today, Alfred is collaborating with a youth entrepreneurship, education, and empowerment program to develop and launch a fragrance honoring the essence of his vibrant grandmother, Henrietta Lacks. And also joining us this evening is Miss Veronica Robinson. Veronica is Henrietta Lacks's great-granddaughter. Veronica is a patient rights advocate who speaks on Henrietta Lacks' legacy, their family's experience in biomedical research, impacts on participants, and ethics in this modern era of precision medicine. Veronica travels the country, sharing the Lacks family's efforts to control their medical history and to rebuild trust with the medical community. Veronica was honored to give a 2018 TEDx talk on this important subject. She works with the National Institutes of Health. Veronica also served as the All of Us ambassador, advocating for access to precision medicine, and as a Lacks family representative on the HeLa Cells Data Access Work Group. As a member of this groundbreaking work group, she contributes to providing controlled access to data and ensuring credit is attributed to the Lacks family in publications based on the research done with Henrietta's DNA data. As a mentor for public city schools in Baltimore, Veronica is committed to empowering the next generation. She is inspired by Henrietta's story, and Veronica is currently studying at Baltimore City Community College to become a registered nurse to ensure that all people are afforded the ability and access to equitable and high-quality health care. Please welcome both Alfred and Veronica.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. On behalf of the Lacks family, we would like to first thank you, Miss Deborah Ketching-Smith, as well as tonight's medical experts, Dr. Brown and Dr. Mitchell. You know, tonight's 4 divine non-sorority leaders who are honoring my grandmother, Miss President Valerie Hollingsworth Baker, President Glenda Glover, President Rashida Liberty, and President Beverly Smith. Thank you so much.
As my great-grandfather say, Alfred, we are so proud of everything that our grandmother and great-grandmother Henrietta has done for the world. And we would also like to thank a few other people. I was moved by the outpouring of the support, but we want to thank everyone who's viewing today, and Tom Joyner, and as the list go on, because I see there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of people who are supporting the efforts that you guys are doing so wonderful at.
Well, thank you so much. And it is an honor for all of us to hear from you through the life of Henrietta Lacks, a phenomenal woman. I do have a couple of questions for you, Alfred and Veronica. The first question is, who was Henrietta Lacks to you from your lens?
Well, Henrietta Lacks to me, well, my mother, Deborah Lacks, was Henrietta's youngest daughter. My grandmother, Henrietta Lacks, to me, she was the epitome of honor, hard work, and hope, humanity. If you understand her story and you do the research, you'll understand that my grandmother was a human being. She was a mother. She was a wife. And she went to Johns Hopkins at a very young age. And a lot of people don't know the story that, you know, she went there for pain in her stomach. And she was soon diagnosed with cervical cancer. And the barbaric
procedures that was performed on my grandmother is unheard of. They sewed radium right on her cervix, which was burning her from the inside out. So we don't want to lose sight of the fact that she suffered, but she suffered to make the world better. So this is why myself, my family, and my cousin, we're making it our business to go out here and to inform people that Henrietta Lacks saved the world with all her accomplishments in medicine.
Well, my great grandmother to me, she was the essence of a woman in our family. She was our matriarch, and not only just a pioneer in medicine, but you know, she's definitely, even without being here, have showed us exactly how to continue legacies and how to be a family and how to use the platform that we have to just continue all these initiatives and make sure that we do our part. A lot of she took care of a lot of people, and part of her taking care of a lot of people was some of the things like our cousins having polio. Like, it's so funny that the people she took care of and the disease they suffered from, now we are seeing that her cells are helping with. So she helped them in life, and she still wants to help in death. That's what she is to us.
That's absolutely wonderful. The second question I have is, how are you honoring her legacy at this time?
Well, myself, I'm honoring her legacy by, as you saw in the opening video, our family is proud to lead the HeLa 100. The HeLa 100, the Henrietta Lacks Centennial celebration. Like, it's a year-long celebration, and we're going to be doing different things just to enlighten people, to educate people on who she is. This year, August 1st, marked my grandmother's 100th birthday. That's like incredible. I was honored to host my family at my home and virtually invite the world to join us in launching our year-long 365-day initiative to honor Henrietta Lacks. Our mission is to preserve the legacy of our grandmother, Henrietta Lacks, educate future generations on the impact of her immortal cells. We are achieving these goals by coming together as one, collaborations like tonight's event. We love this. I also honor my grandmother's legacy through my nonprofit organization, which you spoke about earlier. Also, my immortal perfume is going to be called Immortal by Henrietta Lacks. And it's a beautiful smell. It embodies her 100%. I'm working with a developer in Chicago. It's a company called the Black Ecosystem, and the owner, her name is Miss Candace Cunningham, and she's a wonderful young lady. And we're going to get this out there, and we want people to know that Henrietta Lacks is helping inner city youth because it's an entrepreneur training center in Chicago that helps inner city Black youth create and develop a platform to sell their products. We also want to retrace our steps to Clover, Virginia, where Henrietta and my granddad, David Lacks, lived. We're going to do this, I think, like in spring 2021. And it's going to be like a behind the scenes thing where we're going to be recording, and we're going to take everybody down to Clover where they lived and where she's buried. We're going to call it the Great Migration. Coming from Baltimore, my grandfather came to Baltimore from Clover, Virginia to work at Bethlehem Steel. He was a great man. And we all humbled by this month to launch the HeLa 100, the Teal Takeover with Dr. Nono and Dr. Grossbeck Parham, who was also a wonderful guy who he lives in Zambia, and he's from Alabama, and he works with cervical cancer patients. And also our mayor-elect, Mr. Brandon Scott, who joined us the other night to light up City Hall in Teal. So we're just so happy and so blessed to be able to be a part of something so special and so profound, because when you talk about Henrietta Lacks, love and caringness is just ubiquitous. I mean, you can't help it. It's everywhere.
Ooh, Alfred, I almost clutched my pearls. Didn't realize we were doing so much. But in addition to what Alfred said, things we're doing to honor my great grandmother was like recently I was honored to join my family in leading the lighting of Turner Station for cervical cancer last week. For her impact on cervical cancer. We invite everyone to visit HeLa100.org to learn more about how you can honor Henrietta in your own community. We collaborate with the Lacks family and join our next event. I'm excited to we're hosting our next Centennial conversation on December the 3rd with your very own Miss Jennifer J.J. Jones, Mr. Arthur Gregg, and Patricia W. Lattimore. And it's a blessing that we can contribute to my grandmother's legacy and my grandfather's legacy, and started to honor and the things that my grandfather did to start to honor his mother. In January, we look forward to sharing our exciting new update about our family's nonprofit. No one's ever really gave us anything, but our nonprofit is near and dear to us because we want to give back to everyone.
That is just amazing, the work that you continue to do in honor of Henrietta Lacks and how you are truly making a difference and impacting the communities. Beyond measure is so much knowledge and information that we all could use and that we all need. And thank you so much for bringing her story forward to the world. Definitely, Alfred, you have to tell us about the fragrance. We want to hear more about that once it's ready to be launched and how we can support and purchase the fragrance.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I think it should be ready to launch in like another month or so. Like I said, it's a beautiful fragrance. It's lilac and patchouli and rose. It's just a wonderful blend of different smells that really embodies Henrietta. And I'm just excited. Everybody I let smell, they say they love it. So it's going to be something wonderful. And the kids in Chicago, they're very excited as well.
I hope you're excited enough to give me a free bottle.
I'll squirt you.
Well, I'm sure everyone viewing in tonight, this is definitely something to, with great anticipation, along with your tremendous work, something else to look forward to with the fragrance and how we can continue to support the nonprofit. Thank you so much for sharing that information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you all would like to add to tell our audience about? We know we need to tune in on December 3rd. We know that's an opportunity for everyone to go to HeLa100.org for more incredible information and knowledge they need to have about Henrietta Lacks and her contributions to the medical industry. Anything else?
We are super busy and everywhere, so just stay on HeLa100.org and you'll be able to follow us doing everything. I promise you.
I just wanted to speak on something that's near and dear to my heart. My Henrietta Lacks House Transitional Housing Program.
Yes.
It's a transitional housing program for men returning home from incarceration. I understand that a lot of guys who are incarcerated for whatever reason, a lot of guys don't have support once they're released. Family support. Some people pass away. Some guys burn bridges or whatever before they go to prison. But, I believe everybody deserves a second chance. And I offer that to the guys that come out and they reach out to me I have a very safe place, a beautiful place in downtown Baltimore. I help the guys get driver's license, whatever paperwork they need. I offer job services. I connect them with living classrooms to get jobs. And I've been running this house for 3.5 years, and I've had over 100 men come through my program, and not one man has went back to prison. Not one. It just it's just a joy to see that these guys come home and they start families, they buy their own home, they buy a car, they have jobs. And this is what we need. We need to help guys stay on the street, not come home and turn your back on guys because they have a record. We need to help them to get employment so they can take care of themselves and take care of their families. So this is something that is, like I said, is near and dear to my heart. Every year we have a Christmas party, and it's just good to see the guys come back and encourage the guys that are in the house right now.
Well, Alfred, is there a website or any other information you'd like to share with our audience, how they may be able to support the Transition House?
Yes, you can go to HenriettaLacksHouse.com.
Okay, wonderful. HenriettaLacksHouse.com. Great information. We know that all of us have had an opportunity to make errors, make mistakes, and we all need second chances. So your work in the community is definitely a demonstration of addressing a need, a much needed support vehicle for the men who are released and having to find their way back into society in a productive manner. So thank you so much for your dedication and your commitment.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, definitely.
Anything else? Last comments from you, Veronica?
Well, I guess I'll give you guys a sneak peek of what we're revealing in January, and that's our family foundation. And what set our family foundation apart from other foundations is that we'll be the first foundation to act as a stress reliever. We know that stress is the #1 silent killer, and that, nowadays when you lose one income in a household, the house greatly suffers. So we want to say, hey, don't worry about if your kids are going to be fed, if your lights are going to go off. We just want to put different services that the home is going to lose out from losing part of their house. Like we lost our great-grandmother, our grandmother, and the family suffered, in so many different ways. So our foundation is going to try to replace incomes, and we're going to try to find place where if you had to travel abroad to receive any type of services for your medical, that we set up a home-like atmosphere for you by using people's timeshares that they aren't using and giving the people a nice tax write-off and giving that home environment you need. So that's what you'll be looking forward to seeing in January.
Well, we will certainly be on the lookout for that, and we'll follow you on the HeLa100.org for more information about the great work and the significant impacts you're having across the country and the world. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Such powerful words from Alfred I'm sure we can all support and agree with the message from the poem that was shared with us a few moments ago. And now we will move into our next round of guests. We are honored this evening to have, in celebration of the life of Henrietta Lacks, in studio with us tonight, the 4 Divine 9 National Sorority Presidents, here to honor Henrietta in their own way. We have with us this evening Valerie Hollingsworth Baker, the Centennial International President of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. We have Rashida Liberty, the 25th International President of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Dr. Glenda Glover, International President of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And Beverly E. Smith, National President and CEO of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Good evening to my friends. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
And so now we will begin with our first message we have here from Miss Valerie Hollingsworth Baker.
Well, good evening, Deborah. It's so nice to see you again. And good evening to the Lacks family. And good evening to my sister presidents. Well, this evening, I want to start off by talking about what Henrietta Lacks means to me as a woman. I thought about this and I researched and I pulled some things together in terms of what it meant to me. I came up with strong work ethic, very self-sufficient, quiet strength, and endurance. I think those are words that I would use to describe Henrietta Lacks as a woman, because as women, we embody some of these same qualities, if not all of them, some. She had to have a strong work ethic because she started so early in life working. Then that quiet strength, because when you have to go through so much, it takes something that makes you strong enough to keep going. Being self-sufficient, because at times she had to take care of herself, take care of her family, do things that she had to do maybe at sometimes without help. And then the endurance of finding out after you have your children and someone tells you that you have cancer. And then you think about you're not going to see your children grow up. You're not going to see your grandchildren. The endurance, the quiet faith and strength that she had. I take my hat off to Henrietta Lacks because I don't know if I would have been able to do that. It is just so difficult. And knowing that there was not any real medical treatment to help her, but yet her memory goes on. So as a woman of faith and courage, I say God bless her, because that is the kind of woman that I hoped I will be. So I thank you, Henrietta Lacks' family, for all that you do to engage the public so that they will understand what has happened. Because like when we go to school, we're not even taught the kind of history that we should know. And this is the kind of history that we should know and teach our children, our children's children, and so on and so forth, because they should know what has happened to us as a people. And you all as a family to continue the good fight, to continue to make sure that the public is educated It's a wonderful thing that you are doing. And I want you to continue to keep up the good fight. Make sure that everyone from one part of this world to the other understands what this means. Your grandmother and great grandmother she's just to me, she is like a vision of light. And you all keep that light burning. So thank you very much. Truly, we appreciate all that you have done and all that you continue to do and all that you are doing in the future. And if I had to ask one question, I would ask, if Henrietta Lacks was here today, knowing everything that has happened since since the passing and all that your family has done, what would she say to you all? I'm sure she would say, and I'm up here going to answer for you like I'm part of the family, but I'm sure she would say, good job, well done. I'm proud of my family. And I hope you feel the same way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome. And next up, we will now hear from President Beverly Smith.
All right. Thank you for that. The orders changed a little bit, so I'm sitting here thinking and preparing at the same time, but I'm good. Good evening, Deborah. It's good to see you tonight, and certainly a pleasure and an honor to be able to participate in a program like this. Well, my charge was to speak from the perspective of a sister or friend. And since a lot of my soars are sister friends, I think it's easy to try and speak from that perspective. You know, we're in the middle of a difficult situation in the world right now with the pandemic, and we have so many people who are sick. And as someone who would be a sister or friend to Henrietta, as it were, back in the day, you know, it's important, and I'll share this with all of us who are sisters and friends to others who are going through a situation with cervical cancer. And unfortunately, that's too many of us, or those who are ill and sick. You know, our role and our job has to be one of supporter, of comforter. Henrietta had 4 children that were living at home and having to find a way to take care of them, because, you know, on her mind, and I'll share with the two of you as a mother and grandmother, you know, the thing that's on my mind when ever I would be unable to care for a family when there's little is, you know, think about what can we do to support our friend? What can I do to support my sister, my sore, in this particular time? Providing, as only women can, the comfort for each other when they are trying to care for others, as they always put first, trying to keep their own secrets about their health quiet so they can continue to take care of others and suffering and struggling in that pain. We all know as women what that's like. And so as a sister friend, what's important in our relationships with those who are suffering or struggling or who are critically ill is one of support and comfort, and to say, I'm here for whatever you need. I'm here to help you with the children. If it's a critical illness, and one like Mrs. Lack's situation was, and I honor her by calling her that, you know, she had to be worried about what was going to happen to her family and her children. The importance of knowing that there are friends there to help and take care of you is critically important to another mother, to a sister friend who's in a relationship. And this is just a reminder when you look at her life and what she struggled with in a time when medicine, still a time in some respects, doesn't take care of us as much as we need it to. It just reminds us to always reach out to those that we know who are struggling with something that's terminal, to be there and to put any facade we have aside and to be our, you know, true selves in terms of providing support to each other. I think that's part of the lesson we have to learn. We have to know, and we don't know obviously exactly, but you know, she had friends from all I hear about her life, she was a joy and a pleasure, and enjoyed and liked having fun, which means she had a good circle of sister friends around her. So, as her grandchildren and great grandchildren, be comforted in the fact to know, your grandmother and your great grandmother had a good circle with her of support. We as people, we have to continue that with each other and providing the circle of support and be each other's sister, friend, brother, auntie, grandma, whatever we need to be for each other in this community and the world we live in today. So if I had a question that I would ask the two children and grandchildren are there, is, when you're building what you're building for the future, and as you build a home for those who need a place to go, and as you build a place and a foundation that's really related and devoted to stress, which is so critically important today in a depression that we don't take care of. Is there anything in particular that you've learned in relationships in your own family that you'll try to focus on in the two foundations and the two places you have the resources you have for others? What's your vision in the end for the Henrietta Lacks House to be? If you could achieve anything in the foundation you have on stress, if you had a vision of what you like someone who is promoted and supported by that foundation, what would you like that end in mind to be for someone who you're trying to serve in the wonderful ways that you're trying to?
Well, for our new family foundation, the vision is, and just for both foundations, the vision is where we did not have that support, where we lacked knowledge and understanding, where my grandfather didn't understand what his mom was going through, or my Aunt Deborah, where she liked having the essence of a woman in the household, and she desired to know who she was. The things that we're trying to add back into the foundation is that family-like atmosphere, but we're trying to give people things that we weren't given, and that's support, love, just understanding, education. Because without education and without educating people on a topic, it was kind of like what happened to our family. Somebody called my great grandfather and said, "Hey, we have the cells that your wife sells," and he only knew of a jail cell. So when they told him that, he didn't understand what was happening to our family and the importance of what was happening. So from that point forth, we knew that we had to educate ourselves, and things that we learned, it was our responsibility and our duty, because of our family story, to share with the community, because you can't make an informed decision if you're not educated. So that's partly, to me, what I think our foundations want to add back into the community and to our people. What do you think, Alfred?
Well, as far as the transitional housing program, I would love to have a transitional, like vocational training, like electrician, plumbing, HVAC, all the skills that a man can use to not only survive, but to live and to take care of his family. And I talk to my cousin, I talk to my family all the time about, like, my vision. My vision is to open a school in Baltimore City, and I want to gear towards health and science. And I want it to be small because I want some of the best teachers to teach children to, just to give them that segue. I did a speaking engagement in New York at Stony Brook University, and the man told me, he said, you look like a surgeon general. And I said, well, I appreciate that. And he asked me, as a child, did I ever, wanted to go into medicine? And I told him that I was never exposed to that. Maybe I would have. So what I want to do is I want to expose children to science, health, and maybe we can have some of the greatest minds, come out of the African community, poor, disproportionate guys and women, young girls, and just to go on and to be something great. I mean, that's what I want to do, because my grandmother left a legacy and she left a platform. So I want to use it to the best of my ability to help other people.
So here's the great thing. As I sit here and listen to you, and I'm smiling because I'm saying, had it not been for the pain that your great grandmother and grandmother went through, had it not been for the experiences you had that were not as positive as you would hope them to be in your life, because of that, you are getting ready to build something that makes sure people in the future don't have that. So she's not only immortal with herself in terms of what she's doing for medicine, you all are now going to be immortal for what you're going to do for those that you serve and the lives that they're going to have in the future. So thank you for that. And thank you for Henrietta Lacks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we will hear from Dr. Glenda Glover.
Thank you to Sister Deborah and to the Lacks family. I am so honored. I mean, it's such an honor to discuss Henrietta Lacks as a wife, as we support the research of the All of Us Project and other research. I'm just pleased to note that among her accomplishments and the wonderful recognition that we're doing during these moments, I'm happy to present her as the wife. And I can only imagine in the early 1950s, the discrimination she must have encountered at the hospital, the discrimination, the unwanted, unwelcome, discriminatory advances, I mean, in her body. I mean, that's just unimaginable. Some of the things that she must have been going on in her mind, the things that happened. And so as a college president, at Tennessee State University, I'm aware of the discriminatory effects. And so I'm so moved by the story. So we must keep this fight going and fight for what is right, what is just, what is decent. And so I wanted to say the research on Henrietta Lacks' life has wide-reaching implications. Research on cancer cells led to research in other areas. And she's not different from many of us today, because there is some type of medical issue, serious medical issue, in many of our families, in the organizations we represent. So in continuing her legacy and the contributions, we're proud to honor her. I mean, I'm so moved, I'm so touched. It's such an emotional moment, because she's made such a profound contribution in medical research. As a wife myself, I'm inspired by her meaningful life. And as a wife of a man myself, my husband has diabetes, and I'm continuing to research it myself. I was trying to see when they're going to get a cure for this. And so she was married for 10 years. And I had been married for 10 years when we just found out my husband was diabetic. So in addition to high blood pressure, in fact, right now during COVID, my husband would not leave the house because, as he says, he's convinced. He says, I'm not going out because I have diabetes, I have high blood pressure and respiratory challenges. So if anybody breathes on me, I'll die. So I understand the wife component. I'm not diabetic myself, but I'm constantly doing research on it. And I also take my blood sugar regularly. So she had, as a wife, I can understand the effect she's had on so many of us, making us want to participate in research, to take care of ourselves, to be the wife who had to be respectful and supportive. All that she was going through, she still had to be a wife. And to understand that there are various aspects of our lives. We mentioned the mother, the grandmother, the friend, the sister, the wife, an important aspect of her life. So that's more than people can see. That's more than people think we are. That's more than what we've been called and what they've done to us in our bodies. That's more than how we're described. It's more than the stress of a terminal disease. In fact, it just said to me that she was more than a conqueror. Henrietta Lacks was just more than a conqueror, and we are proud to honor her and celebrate her life. She indeed was all that God had designed for her to be. Henrietta Lacks, the wife,
the faithful, the courageous, the historical, the wife. So I'm so proud to be a part of this program and just to honor her during this moment in our history. So I guess I have to get a question. So my question would be, what can the Black colleges do to advance this cause? And I'm going to start with the answer that was saying we would teach students the history, teach students her history, and make it a formable part of Black history, of African American history. That's what I think. That's what I'm going to start by saying what we can do as Black colleges. So if you want to add to that out, that'd be fine. If not, that's my answer to my own question.
I think you said it perfectly. Like, we just all have to support the call of action and put things back in its proper perspective, and put people who have definitely contributed to our history back in our schools to share their history, to actually share what they did and why they're so important, because it's important for us to identify with people who look like us.
Good.
And I just want to add, like Veronica said, you said it perfectly. Educate, the students on who Henrietta was and the accomplishments that she's, brought forth to the world. And a person that exemplifies that is Dr. Roland Patillo.
Yes.
He's at the Morehouse School of Medicine. He has a women's symposium every October, and it's been running since 1996, I think. Yeah, 1996. You all seen the picture of the bust of Henrietta? That's in the auditorium at Morehouse, and it's just a wonderful event. And this is how Dr. Patillo gives back to Henrietta Lacks and her family by educating not only his students, but everyday layman people who come to the event. It's just a wonderful thing. And I appreciate Dr. Patillo for that.
I was just thinking about everything you were saying about being a wife. I seen how moved you were when you were sharing about being a wife, and a song started playing in my head, the one where you say, "I'm every woman, it's all me." Thinking like, oh my goodness, if my great grandmother don't live in every last Lacks woman, because we are constantly, we got to be mothers. We have to, keep the ball rolling. We have to bounce in so many places. We have to be sisters and cousins and keep it all going. So, got to just keep educating each other and keep it in the schools and educate our children through STEM and everything.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Glover. And now, last but not least, we will hear from the International President of Rashida Liberty, International President of Sigma Gamma Rho.
Good evening to everyone. Well, I have the pleasure of talking about Mrs. Lacks from the perspective of being a mother. I'm a mother myself, and I know that is a very tough decision when you hear the words, "you have cancer." I have experienced that, not personally myself, but through my husband, which I'll kind of intertwine that story through as being a parent. I think this story is very unique because you think about, as a mother, when you have those children, God gives you those children to raise on this earth. It's a special blessing and a gift that you have before you. And when you realize that, God, you've given me these 5 beautiful spirits, how could this happen to me, right? And I remember the decision, even in my personal life, when my husband had to make the decision, am I going to continue with chemo and live out the best life I can? Or will I get a stem cell transplant? And through that process, the biggest decision of how he was going to do that was driven by, at that time, our 5-year-old son, knowing that he had to be there for him. And I think about Henrietta Lacks as a mother, knowing that her time may have been shorter and that she had those 5 spirits that she had to make a decision about. And she had to think about, how are they going to continue to live? It's that duty of care that's built inside of a mother. And then at the same time, What's interesting is although her time was short on this earth, she was able to have time to sow into others on earth so that more mothers can be blessed to be here and be a part of their child's life. So I look at the duty of care turn into a duty of healing. And so those healing through those cells have blessed many women along this journey. And then I look at the spirit of hope. The fact that if you know that you can get a transplant, you can get a polio vaccine, and all of the other ways that her cells have blessed this earth, you now have a spirit of hope to carry out as a mother. And so I look at her as just being a blessing and probably looking for the perfect playbook to stay a part of this earth. But what's interesting is through her life and her legacy, she's delivered a perfect playbook to you all to carry out as mothers, as sons, as grandfathers. You are sowing into communities more broader. So I look at the playbook of healing. I look at the playbook of a duty of care, and I look at a playbook of hope as to what she provided as a mother. And so you all should be proud. And I know our time is running short, but what I would say is this, and I was going to ask you this question, but I'm going to go ahead and answer. I'm going to do like my fellow sister president Val. I'm going to say you have 4 powerful Black women on this call who represent the Divine 9 sororities. And we are ready. And I know I'm speaking for my sisters probably a little bit out of turn, but we want to partner with you in some special way. We all stand on foundations of education. So when you said that STEM school and you want to do something in Baltimore, I know we can do something to help that. I know my sister President Glover can do something with the HBCU world. I know my sister President Beverly Smith can do something with the Deltas around social action and engagement. I know my sister President Val can definitely take care of that Northeast corridor in very special ways. We are poised and ready to help you. My question was going to be, how do we make that happen? But I know we can tie that up at the end of the call because we're running out of time. But I'm saying that we are going to be committed to help you in this effort. We want this voice to be shared broadly.
Thank you. We will be honored.
We would be honored. We are so honored. And just something quick. In March, I had went to the doctors and she had said she seen some lesions. And I'm like, oh no, like it's happening. And you know, my grandmother died from cervical cancer and I was so scared. So I just kept praying and kept praying. It's just like my great grandmother shows up when she needs to show up in our lives. And when I went to the doctors, she said, you have to get this LEAP procedure. And I'm like, what is that? What are you going to do? And she was just like, well, we think you have cervical cancer. But when she went in to do the LEAP procedure, like the lesions like completely disappeared. And me and my husband was like, okay, the time is now. Like we have been trying for a baby and we will be having a baby from IVF thanks to my great grandmother. Like how amazing is that? Like my great grandmother is making it possible. So where we have a hard time becoming a family, that I'll be a mother.
Yeah, and that's why I said it's that duty of care, right? That duty, that healing, and also giving you the playbook in life. And she's the gift that keeps on giving. She's giving you the playbook.
Yes, ma'am.
This is absolutely amazing. And we definitely know, to Alfred and Veronica, we definitely know there is work to be done. You have a major follow-up with the 4 phenomenal national presidents of the predominantly African-American sororities. And so we definitely look forward to those outcomes and how we can even widen the depth and the information that can be shared across the communities and also outside of the U.S. And so thank you so much to our national presidents for this wonderful conversation with the Lacks family this evening. And we are going to now move into the Black Greek Letter Consortium. And that is comprised of all of the Divine 9 sororities and fraternities in partnership with the Cobb Institute and the Delta Research and Education Foundation, which are the host of this evening's webinar. This collaboration stems from the partnership with the All of Us Research Program. And the goal of the All of Us Research Program is to create a database of 1 million participants participating in medical research. At this time, we will show and share a short video about the All of Us program featuring Tom Joyner. And Radio 1 is also a partner of the All of Us research program.
This is Tom Joyner. We're still learning about COVID-19, but one thing we do know, African Americans have been disproportionately affected, which makes our involvement in health research key. By participating in the All of Us research program, we can help drive research for COVID-19 and other conditions, even from home. Now more than ever, our participation can play a role in improving the health of our communities. Research is hope, and it's fueled by you. Find out more at joinallofus.org/Tom.
Thank you so much for sharing that video in our partnership with Tom Joyner and Radio 1. And so now we will move into our next guest. We are so excited about having joining us this evening two formidable physicians who have worked with the Lacks family around research, medical research. And so I am honored to introduce our two physicians that are joining us. And they will come along right after we move into our question and answer period. We will have with us showing some pre-assessed or gathered questions this evening. We will be sharing the answers to those questions as well. We have the pre-recorded questions that will be coming up. And we will share those. And then I think you will find that information very helpful as we are all learning through this journey together this evening.
My name is Brian Oliver. I'm the Assistant Coordinator for Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated on the Black Greek Letter Coalition team. And wow, Henrietta Lacks is an amazing woman. My question is, considering the things that you have learned about scientific research, what advice would you give someone who is interested in volunteering to provide their information for precision medicine research?
Thank you so much for the question.
Well, as an All of Us ambassador, I advocate for access to precision medicine. And one of the things that I would say to people is, I think Dr. Robert Wynn, he said it best when he said, as we start thinking about this in the context of building trust, I think we can get back to the trust by involving the community. We are going to do things and we'll be serving, and in fact allow that information to be accessed to you. So what I would say is, when you are going to be part of clinical trials and be a part of All of Us, that you should just think about what it means to you and what it means for your family.
All right, wonderful. We'll move to our next pre-recorded question.
My name is Conchita Burpee, and I'm with the Cobb Institute. And I have a question for the Lacks family. Can you share with us the process for getting Henrietta Lacks recognized and acknowledged as a medical breakthrough? And with secondly, what were some of the barriers or resistance?
Well, some of the things that we experienced trying to get her recognized was, oh my goodness, like it was hard, because in the beginning we had a lawyer who tried to steal all her medical data, and you just had so many people taking things from us. And it just became, after a time, it just became organic, and people hearing the story, they just wanted to be a part, like you guys. They just want to help. So it's not, it hasn't been really hard for us, for her story to be told, and people want to help. What do you think, Alfred?
And I just like to add, some of the barriers that, the family has faced from the very beginning. they was not acknowledging Henrietta Lacks. They were saying her name was Helen Lane and Helen Lawson in national, the books, national genetic books, to try to hide and cover up that she was a Black woman. So those were some of the barriers that we faced because we never had any knowledge of what her cells were doing for the world until certain reporters were doing their research. And my aunt Barbara, she was at a friend's house, and just so happened that the young lady he was her guest, and she was introduced as Barbara Lacks, and he was like, "Well, are you related to Henrietta Lacks?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's my mother-in-law." So he told her about the things that was going on, far as down at the NIH and the research they was doing on her cells and everything. And she went back and told her husband, which is her grandfather, and this is how we found out that the HeLa cell was all over the world. I mean, everybody were benefiting and making money and everything like that. In the family, we had no knowledge of it at all. But we also want to let people know that that it's a process, and we know that bad things were done, but you have to look at the good that's coming out of my grandmother. That's why she's so phenomenal, that in her death, she's still touching the world. And it's just a profound thing. It's very powerful.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And now we'll have our third question.
My name is Nina Newman, and I serve as a collegiate engagement assistant for DREF Research Matters for All of Us. My question is for Veronica Robinson. As a young African-American woman, especially with such a unique family medical history, how do you use your great-grandmother's legacy as well as your knowledge as a community advocate to personally and practically advocate for yourself with healthcare providers? And what tips do you have to those who are hesitant to disclose information to healthcare providers due to fear?
Well, one of the things is it all starts home. And in our family, we all take younger legs, go to the doctor with the older legs. And when we go to the doctors with them, we ask all the questions that they're afraid to ask and make sure that we understand what the treatment is going to be, if we need treatment, what are some other objectives, like what are the objectives behind it, like what are some things that we could do to prevent things. But since working for the NIH on the HeLa Working Genome Database Board, one thing I find that we do is we have definitely, like, this is the first time that science has worked with an actual family. So I advocate as a person who's bridging the gap between science and the medical community so that we can get better and we can do better and they can do better by us. So this is our part of taking back our own legacy and our story. And on the HeLa Genome Board, we've seen that a lot of times scientists would send things over and they would request to use data and stuff, but they would try to, I'm gonna just say it, I'm a college student, so when you go to school, you learn a lot. You learn all these words that you want to go out here and you want to use, like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And if you didn't go to school for that, you don't know what that means. Right. So now it's my duty to stop and say, hey, even though you went to school for this, like you have to talk to people in layman terms and ways in which they understand. So you're not stealing something from them, because the worst thing you can steal from somebody is their knowledge and their rights to know. So that's part of what I do for the NIH. I slow scientists down, say, hey, I know you doing something that you're so proud of and you're passionate about, but let's slow it down. Let's make sure you got, all your alphabets in order. And I think that's about it. I just try to do my part and, take it from just the community part, from the part where we were greatly affected, and say, hey, like, what was it about what happened to us? How can we stop it from happening to other people? How can we be more ethical and ask these questions and not be afraid to ask them in boardrooms and things like that?
And also, I just would like to add, when we go to different universities to speak and health places, I like to let the students know, the healthcare professionals. I like to let them know, to think about their patients as people and not as like research, because like they take the human element out of it. So I encourage them to put the human element back into their job, their research, and life. And that way, they can build a rapport with their patients, because a lot of people go to hospitals, they're already sick. So they're delusional, they're not feeling well. So, and then they come and they give you a paperwork like the size of a phone book and expect you to read this. So informed consent is something that we encourage healthcare professionals to convey to their patients, so they'll know what they're doing. They'll know what they're getting into.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Alfred, because my friend Kareem Watson in Chicago, he has an excellent research on showing for African Americans participation in clinical research or clinical trials. It's a generational issue. Older African Americans still remember Henrietta and the Tuskegee experiment and have a fear or mistrust, while the younger African Americans are more willing to participate if they were simply just asked. And whether you're brown or black, you just have to stay engaged and stay and remember that we all have cultural stories that causes disparities in the household. Like one of the things that kept our family from receiving a proper treatment is John Hopkins was the only place that Henrietta or any African American can get care. And we were told when we were growing up, if you stayed outside past a certain time when the streetlights came on, that John Hopkins would snatch your body up and they would do research on you. And I think we all have those cultural stories in the house. They keep us from the clinical trials and they keep us from research or whatever. We just need to continue to empower Black and Brown patients to ask about the trials and the clinicians to educate the patients and offer trials. We also need to start these conversations earlier on. So it's not like when you're faced with an issue, but more so like, before you get to that part, instead of that part making treatment an option. We need to just continue like what you ladies are already doing when you go out here and you educate. We just have to educate the youth and students for clinical trials and to embrace it as part of our STEM. And as a member of the HeLa genome, I just contribute to providing the controlled access to the genome data and ensuring that the credit is attributed to my great grandmother in publications based on the research that was done, and just using Henrietta's DNA and her genome, Because like I said, in order to make an informed decision, you have to be educated on a topic. And I stand behind medical research and clinical trials because I've seen the effects on both sides, having sick loved ones dying from cancer and feeling vulnerable. And as a lab worker, trying to diligently get these medications out to people, trying to get my research done so that we can take an advance. My great grandmother advanced science for over 60 plus years, and we just looking to continue this. A scientist said it's easier to say who has not used our cells versus who used our cells. And without our cells, we would be in caveman times, like caveman times. So we just want to continue that legacy and say, hey, if you ever are faced with the question of being part of clinical trials, just ask yourself, like, will it help me? Or will it be something that I'm interested to help the generations to come?
Thank you so much for those empowering comments and those words, because it is so important that we recognize that first we must be the advocates of our own health. And we are empowered as people to be the advocates of our own health. And it's so important that we communicate with our families so that they can advocate on our behalf when maybe we're not in a position because of an illness that's critical to speak for ourselves. And also to continue to press for efficacy and making sure that our medical professionals are talking in the language that we can all understand. I think sometimes we become very intimidated by the lab white coat, the white lab coats and the jackets and the doctor and all of the credentials. But at the end of the day, we each have to understand it's important. We know what's happening and what's being proposed to us for any kind of treatments. And so it's really, really important. I applaud both of you for continuing to put out the message of empowerment to our people, and also to challenge and ask questions, because it's your life and you need to know what's going on with your own personal health. So thank you for that. We have one final question that you will hear from.
My name is Cindy Benavides, and I serve as the CEO of the League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC. As a Latina, what advice do you have for me in communities of color and understanding the rights of patients or as volunteers in clinical trials?
Well, I think that it's just simple. The advice I have for you is to just continue to ask questions, even questions that you are afraid to ask, and to take, the way we are sharing our story, you have to take your own story in your own hand, because we all could be a Henrietta Lacks. Like we're one question away from being a Henrietta Lacks. If we don't ask those questions, we're just letting someone else make those decisions for us. Like anything could happen. So my advice to you is to ask questions, to stay informed, and just continue to educate yourself. I think that's the biggest piece, because like I keep saying, you can't make a great decision unless you're educated, an informed decision. What do you think, Alfred?
I agree with you. I agree.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for those audience questions that were provided to us. Again, really massive, great information and empowering messaging from the Lacks family on how we can be better engaged, it's important to educate ourselves so that we can take control of our own health. And so at this time, I'm excited to bring to our studio two individuals who have had the experience of sharing the stage with members of the Lacks family, Doctors Doris Brown and Edith Mitchell. I would like to introduce first Dr. Doris Brown, give you some background on Dr. Brown. She has tirelessly championed many causes that have significantly contributed to improving the health status of vulnerable populations in our nation. She has a special interest and is passionate about women's health, cancer, especially breast cancer, chronic diseases, sickle cell anemia, environmental health, and radiation casualties. She has been either featured or quoted in many articles in the Army Times, U.S. Medicine, Washington Post, ePolitical, PBS NewsHour, and Essence Magazine. Dr. Brown has made numerous briefings before senior executive government officials, congressional, and White House officials. In addition, Dr. Brown is a prolific writer. She authored a textbook and co-edited proceedings of consensus conferences, book chapters, and published numerous articles in the medical journals. Dr. Brown's military career was outstanding. She had significant contributions while in service, resulting in many awards, including the Order of Military Medical Merit. She retired from active duty in 2000 as a colonel in the United States Army Medical Corps, where she was the director for medical research and development at the U.S. Army Medical Research and Material Command. Colonel Brown has had the unique distinction of serving as the military representative for health affairs to the Defense Advisory Committee on Women in Services. She was inducted into the D.C. Commission on Women Hall of Fame in 1998. Again, she has numerous awards, along with the National Institutes of Health Merit Award she received in 2010 and Top Blacks in Healthcare Award in 2018. Dr. Brown established the Brown & Associates, LLC, a health consulting small business that focuses on managing diversified health programs addressing disease prevention, improving health statuses through addressing health equity for national and international vulnerable populations, and advancing programs to enhance participation of minority and underserved populations in clinical research. Dr. Brown participates in numerous organizations and activities, including being a member of the Board of Trustees of Tougaloo College, past president and member of the National Medical Association and its member local affiliates, the Medical Society of DC, member of the American Society of Clinical Oncology, American College of Physicians, Trinity Episcopal Church, and she is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Welcome, Dr. Brown. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Edith Peterson Mitchell. Dr. Mitchell is a board certified in internal medicine and medical oncology and is a clinical professor at the Department of Medicine and Medical Oncology at Sidney Kimmel Medical College at Thomas Jefferson University and Associate Director of Diversity Programs and Director of the Center to Eliminate Cancer Disparities for the Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Thomas Jefferson University. Dr. Mitchell has spent her career helping individuals in medically underserved areas to realize that simple changes in lifestyle can have a dramatic impact on cancer care. Dr. Mitchell received her bachelor's degree in biochemistry with distinction from Tennessee State University and her medical degree from the Medical College of Virginia in Richmond. In 1973, while attending medical school, Dr. Mitchell decided to enter the Air Force Services and received a completion of her internship and residency in internal medicine at Meharry Medical College and a fellowship in medical oncology at Georgetown University. Dr. Mitchell's research in breast, colorectal, and pancreatic cancers and other GI malignancies involves new drug evaluation and chemotherapy, the development of new therapeutic regimens, to name just a few. She travels nationally and internationally, teaching and lecturing on the treatment of malignancies. Dr. Mitchell has authored and co-authored more than 150 articles and books, as well as many abstracts on cancer treatment, prevention, and cancer control. She is a distinguished researcher and has received many cancer research and principal investigator awards, including most recently the Promise Grant from the Susan G. Komen Foundation. She serves on the National Center of Institute Review Board and the Cancer Investigations Review Committee. She also is the co-chair of the National Cancer Institute's Disparities Cancer Research Community. Dr. Mitchell was selected to serve as a member of NIC's Blue Ribbon Panel, convened to advise the National Cancer Advisory Board on Vice President Biden's National Cancer Moonshot Initiative. In 2019, Dr. Mitchell began service as a member of the President's Cancer Panel. She has written numerous articles throughout her career that have been well published and documented in her research around cancer and its disparities. She has received numerous awards, including an award by the Council of Women Physicians of the National Medical Association. In 2010, she received the National Cancer Care Physician of the Year Award in recognition of her outstanding contribution of time and talent. In her medical achievements, Dr. Mitchell is also a retired United States Air Force Brigadier General, having served as the Air National Guard Assistant to the Command Surgeon for U.S. Transportation in Command and Headquarters Air Mobility Command, based at the Scott Air Force Base in Illinois. General Mitchell has been awarded over 15 military service medals and ribbons, including the Legion of Merit, Meritorious Service Medal, Air Force Achievement, and Commendation Medals. Dr. Mitchell is a member of the American College of Physicians, a fellow of the College of Physicians of Philadelphia, a member of the American Medical Association, the National Medical Association, Aerospace Medical Association, Association of Military Surgeons, the Medical Society of Eastern Pennsylvania, to name a few. We welcome both Drs. Brown and Dr. Mitchell, our phenomenal physicians who will be joining our conversation this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Deborah Catchins-Smith. And thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. And thanks to the Lacks family, Dr. Brown and I had the opportunity to work with you several years ago, and somewhere in our background, there is a picture of us with some of the Lacks family members. So we're so delighted to be here with you tonight.
Thank you so much.
We are. Thank you so much for inviting us to be a part of this, to the Lacks family and to the Black Greek Letter Coalition and the Divine Nine Presidents. We are certainly honored to be a part of this as representing the Cobb NMA Research Institute. So thank you again for inviting us. We look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you so much, Drs. Brown and Mitchell. The first question I have for you is if you would like to share with our audience the meeting. You've met, of course, the Lacks family at conferences, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as we have been discussing this evening, the legacy, the profound legacy of Henrietta Lacks and her impact of her cells and what it has done for scientific research. Could you share more about genetics and its connection to the HeLa cells?
Okay.
Sure. You want to go first, Doris, and I'll follow you.
Yes, you go right ahead, and then I'll follow you.
So the topic now is precision medicine. Precision medicine was organized as a program by the federal government by then President Obama in 2015. It was organized as part of the National Institutes of Health, NIH, and the NIH is a part of Health and Human Services Department in the government, and NIH should be considered as the research arm of the United States government. And with the precision medicine, it helps us understand the individual makeup of our bodies, what disease processes we might have risk for. But not only that, it helps us make sure that we are giving precise care to every individual.
So making sure that everybody has access to the research, but also making sure that in treatment, we're giving the right medicine to the right person at the right time. And therefore, it's very precise. And what we have, and it's so important, is that for many of the research areas that we have conducted over the years, Black patients, African Americans, and other people of color have been left out of these studies. So therefore, it's very important that we all work together, collaborate together to make sure that underserved individuals, people of color, poor people have access to these phenomenal research studies. And therefore, we are hoping that we don't see the differences over a long period of time. As a researcher, I'm tired of hearing that differences in mortality or death rates from hypertension, stroke, heart disease, cancer. One of the cancers I work with, colorectal cancer, African American men have a 47% higher chance of dying if they have colon cancer. So therefore, with what we're doing with the Lacks family, with the Divine Nine, with the HBCUs, and all of us working together, we can fight the gaps that we see in healthcare, and we can all be together, work together, and therefore have better health for our communities.
Thank you. And let me just add a little bit more in reference to the genetics and the connection with the HeLa cells. Now, we know that our bodies happens to be a very complex organ, and it's made up of all kinds of molecules. And these molecules are really proteins, and the proteins really carry out just about every function that we have in our body. And certainly the genes are made up of these proteins. And so when you look at the cell that contains the genome of all of these genes working together, and the chromosomes that's contained therein, the DNA, any change in the DNA can affect how those proteins are going to work in the body. And this, again, can affect us in terms of our health, or causing certain diseases. And when we look at the HeLa cells that contains, again, this whole genome, well, some of those genes had some defects in terms of the chromosomes. And of course, instead of being 46 chromosomes as we normally would have in the body, it had almost a double number of them. And so again, causing the disease. And so what we're learning is the human papilloma virus happens to be a virus that is seen in most of the cervical cancers that's there. And it's that virus that sort of infected the cells and caused that mutation in the genome and in the genes, and so going on to cause the diseases. And so when we start to look at many of the diseases that we are faced with today, we are very fortunate to have the HeLa cells that's given us a blueprint for how we can look at various diseases that are moving forward, even COVID-19, and looking at some of those cells that's going on to help us to determine how we are going to treat this disease and make us really understand why people of color have a greater burden of COVID-19 and other chronic diseases.
Okay, thank you so much, Drs. Mitchell and Brown. Can you share with us a little bit about the All of Us research program and the work that the Cobb Institute is doing to support it?
So certainly. And just as there are differences and gaps in healthcare for African Americans, the NMA was actually started based on that. The NMA was organized in 1895 when Black doctors were denied the opportunity to join other medical societies and to be a part of medical care in the United States. So the NMA was formed. This is the 125th anniversary. And with that, the Cobb Institute, which Dr. Brown and I had the All of Us program, therefore was a part of it. The All of Us program was established by the NIH. And the director of the NIH, Dr. Francis Collins, said that we really need to focus on the genetic risk of everybody in the United States. The NIH research program is for all of us. It's for the United States. And therefore, we need to make sure it's available to us. So it was started as a longitudinal effort to recruit participants. We don't call them patients. Some individuals may not have any disease processes that they know about, or there could be individuals that already have diseases. But for everyone, the All of Us program can help develop the risk for individuals so that you'll know what risk that you and your family have. And therefore, I say knowledge is power. And therefore, we look at not only treating disease, but we look at preventing disease. And as I said before, for treating diseases, there's no one shoe fits all for everybody. So with this precise information that we can gain from the All of Us program and participation is knowing about yourselves, what your risk, what treatments will work for you and might not work for others. So it's a way of giving power to the individual about yourself, about the risk, and therefore giving you the ability to make decisions regarding your own health care. Doris?
And again, the All of Us study is probably the largest population research study in the US. And we are set out to enroll 1 million people. And it's about sharing your health information. And the whole idea is as the volume of health information grows, we may be able to see patterns of diseases that may not be available if we were looking at it in a small 10 or 20 participant program. So with this large data set, the future researchers will be able to ask specific questions like, how can we really determine better treatment for diabetes, which affects, more than 10% of the American population? We can develop better cures for cancer that will work the first time around because it's targeted to specific therapies rather than giving them chemotherapy that now it may or may not work. So it helps us to really answer those tough questions that will help future generations to come to really reduce and eliminate health disparities in a way that we can sustain it throughout the country. And again, this is a program that's now we've moved on to really enroll more than 350,000 participants in the study on our way to getting to 1 million, but we want those participants to be very diverse. And so the Cobb Institute has the focus of really trying to address the Black population and make sure that we are well represented in this study. And I should point out that the study is about volunteering. We're not asking people to sign on anything that they are not in control always. So if they sign up for the study and decide they don't want to participate, they can opt out and it will in no way impact them. We are now beginning to look at DNA as a step forward. And so, as I said, even part of this with COVID-19, we're beginning to look at, and some of the vaccines that are going to soon be on the market had its basis in the HeLa cells. And of course, this is very fortunate. Again, we recognize and certainly embrace the atrocities that occurred early on, but many rules have been put in place so that we don't have that impact in the future. And as Veronica has stated, we want to look at trying to make things better for future generations to come. And so we are going to learn from the research that's there. And we are very appreciative for the Lacks family for allowing us to be a part of this program.
Oh, absolutely, Dr. Brown. And it gives us the ability to know what kind of diseases our families might have so that we can try to prevent them. So we all hear about stroke, hypertension, heart disease, cancer, but also Alzheimer's is higher in incidence in people of color. So therefore, it's this opportunity that we can therefore take charge of our own lives and look at what we can learn about ourselves to decrease the likelihood of developing these chronic diseases so that we don't have to continuously say that there are disparities in the overall incidence rates as well as the death or mortality rates. And we all got to get together and fix this. The researchers, those of us who are clinicians and taking care of patients, those in the laboratory, and it's for all of us, therefore, to get together and let's decrease some of these disparities in healthcare that we see in communities of color.
Thank you so much. Can you tell us if either of you have worked directly with the HeLa cells in your clinical careers? And if so, how? Can you describe that?
Yes, I can. I had the distinct pleasure when I was a research scientist at Georgetown University, after completing my clinical training, and I was going to be a part of the laboratory of Dr. Paul Woolley, who was a famous researcher. So he listened to my proposal and what I was going to do. I was testing the HeLa cells against various chemotherapy agents, trying to define which of the chemotherapy agents worked best. And what he said to me was the following. Now, Edith, I know you know what you're doing. You have laid out a great plan. But let me tell you, when you go in the laboratory to work, you got to be careful with those HeLa cells because they will go all over the place and contaminate everything. So you just be careful with those HeLa cells. And it was later when I read the book by Miss Skloot that Deborah, who I think is your mother, talked about how Henrietta would be all over everything. And in death, she was still all over everything through her HeLa cells, the immortal cells. So I learned about this long before I knew about Henrietta Lacks, that you've got to be careful with those HeLa cells because they'll be all over the place. So my research turned out to be really good. We found some new drugs that worked against cancer through the legacy of, and I am forever grateful for my experience in working in the laboratory with them, because the next year, when I was summarizing my research, I had the opportunity to present my research results to both the American Association of Cancer Research, but also to the American Society of Clinical Oncology. So having the ability to present to both of these organizations in 1 year as the result of my research, I am eternally grateful for the doors that have been opened as a result of that. And now I am here wanting to work with everybody throughout the United States as a promoter of all of us and continuing my research. I still do research on development of new cancer treatments now. So thank you to the Lacks family for giving me those opportunities.
Yes.
Thank you.
Dr. Brown?
Yes, I have not worked specifically with the HeLa Cells in a research capacity, but certainly in the sense of educating the public about what is going on with the HeLa Cells, and of course the ability to not share that information early on, and how it's certainly Dr. Francis Collins has made an apology in. Oops.
I think we may have lost Dr. Brown in error, but we definitely want to applaud both of our amazing physicians for their dedication, their commitment to make impacts in underserved communities, and for being on the ground floor of all of the amazing research that's underway to help improve the conditions, the health disparities and conditions within our own communities. So we thank you so much, both of you, Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Brown, for joining us this evening.
It's been a delight, and I will speak for Dr. Brown and myself. We both work together for the All of Us program. We're both prior presidents, past presidents of the National Medical Association. We are out there in our communities. We are both members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So we're all working together. Both Dr. Brown and I are retired from the military. She from the Army, and I'm retired from the Air Force. So we're out there. It is our privilege and honor to work with the Lacks family. And we're just so proud of all that you're doing, and all that you're doing, Ms. Catchin Smith, so that all of us working together, and whatever we can do from the National Medical Association and the Cobb Research Institute of the National Medical Association, we are here and we speak for our colleagues that we want to get rid of some of these disparities in many of the disease processes that we mentioned tonight. It is our distinct privilege to be a part of this program and to speak tonight. So thank you so much.
You are so welcome, both you and Dr. Brown. Thank you so much for sharing. There she is. Thank you, Dr. Brown, for sharing.
My thing died on me, and I was like,
it's called technology.
I know. The battery said it's low, and I tried to put another battery in, and boom, it kicked me out. So I'm very sorry for that. But thank
No
you so
problem.
much for having us. This has been wonderful. I've changed machines. I have more power now.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Brown. Thank you so much for joining us this evening and sharing a wealth of information.
Yes.
And we look forward, Deborah, to the additional programs.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
knowledge is power.
Yes.
Knowledge is power. And we have a group of medical students and young interns and residents working with me now. And I think it's so good to have the young, I call them the young kids, working in this area too. But it's bringing on the next generation who are better at technology than we are. But it is so good to have, I say, the collaboration of all of us, the young doctors, the medical students, because there are disparities all over in terms of people in healthcare, the doctors, the nurses, patients, and we all have to get together and I say, sing in the choir in harmony together.
And just to say, so we're appreciative for Veronica working as making sure the community is engaged in the process, not just to have the healthcare providers, but it's also important to have the community there and to have you as one of those engagers as a community for the All of Us program. We are very appreciative.
Thank you.
So Veronica, you can contact me at any time regarding helping with community engagement and community work in terms of clinical trials, in terms of understanding access to healthcare so that we are giving that back to our communities. So we'd love to have you. And they have my information, but you can contact me directly.
Yes. And I certainly know that the Cobb Research Institute is willing to partner with you to make sure that not only providers are engaging participants in the All of Us program, but also the community and working with the Lacks family. Really love the house, the Heritage House that you have is wonderful and appreciate that.
Well, again, thank you, Drs. Brown and Mitchell, and for this wealth of information and for your dedication and commitment to our communities. So now we'll move into a video presentation that we would love to share with our audience. And it is the All of Us Research program video. And after all of this phenomenal, impactful information that we received this evening, this is our call to action.
We are one nation, one people. When called upon to give from within, we come together and find that our capacity to help others is limitless. Here, we are fearless. What lies inside all of us is more than data. It's life. It's more than insight and medical research. It's vision and honor and compassion. What's flowing through America's veins is its diversity. The next great breakthrough will be found in each and every one of us. And what we find there will unlock mysteries, heal the sick, and eradicate disease. We ask for 1 million individuals to come forward and stand on this landmark in history. We ask America to do, once again, what she has always done. Lead the way forward. We're one nation, one people, but all of us are different, and it's those very differences that will lead to answers for generations to come.
We want to thank our participants that have been involved and made this evening spectacular, sharing such critical information for each of us as we work together and collaboratively around the All of Us research program. We thank our 4 Divine Nine National Sorority Presidents, Valerie Hollingsworth Baker, Rashida Liberty, Dr. Glenda Glover, and Beverly Smith, along with Drs. Brown and Mitchell, for this engaging and educational discussion. And we are immensely grateful for the Lacks family members, Alfred and Veronica, who were able to join us this evening to provide information, education, and empowerment, and tell us all about the amazing legacy of Henrietta Lacks and how she is continuing to impact our communities and the world. Before we say good evening to everyone, we would like for you to fill out the post-assessment survey, and that is found in a link located in the chat box. This assessment will allow us to gauge how much you've learned from this evening's conversation. And at this time, we have a special message for the family honoring Henrietta.
Thank you, Henrietta.
Thank you, Henrietta Lacks. Thank you, Henrietta Lacks.
Thank you, Henrietta Lacks.
Thank you, Henrietta Lacks.
Thank you, Henrietta Lacks.
Thank you, Henrietta Lacks.
Thank you, Henrietta Lacks. Thank you.
We thank Henrietta Lacks for her contributions to science, from polio eradication to the HPV vaccine and so many other things related to chromosome counting and genome mapping. While she may not have known that her contributions were going to be far and wide, her story is important to tell. So we thank the Henrietta Lacks family for sharing that with us.
As a woman and as a mother, it is truly difficult to understate the importance of Henrietta Lacks and her contributions to the medical community and scientific research. I'm so grateful to her and her enduring legacy, everything that her and her family have given, and especially the changes that have been made around informed consent regarding participation in medical research because of her sacrifice.
Thank you again. Please complete the post-assessment survey located in the chat box. Please click on the link in order to do so. And again, have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.